This is the One Nation, One Poll Committee which is being set up as being quoted by the PTI. And what we are gathering is that the former President Ram Nath Kovind is to be heading this One Nation, One Election, the committee that is being formed. And this is the information we have accessed from PTI. Right now, the information that we are getting is One Nation, One Poll Committee. This is the poll panel that is going to be set up. And former President Ram Nath Kovind is to head the committee for this One Nation, One Election committee that is being set up. And we do have Payal Mehta joining us on the broadcast to bring us more details about this. Payal, give us further details as to this particular committee that is being set up, which is to be headed by the former president.
It was an earlier time, I remember in 2019 or something, when the Prime Minister Modi had actually called for a meeting of all the party presidents of various political parties in Parliament to have a discussion on one country, one election. That is when the government has said that it would actually form a team and form a committee to look into it and get its findings. So what we are now going to understand that the official documentation as far as this committee is concerned will be out. But what we do know by way of our sources is that this committee will be headed by former President of India, Ram Nath Kovind. He will be heading this particular committee. This committee will have its own recommendations to give. The committee will have its meeting and then it will submit its report to the government, is what we are given to understand. So that's the information that is available right now. So this comes in at a time, when there is of course been a lot of speculation as far as the bringing of the government's, One Nation, One Country, One Election bill is concerned. So it's going to be some time before this committee actually submits its report.
Right, Payal. Also, could you please bring us more details as to the functioning of this particular committee, how they will be operating?
Well, this particular committee is expected to meet all the stakeholders, which also includes states, etc. Given the fact that this is an electoral reform that you're talking about, and of course the final owners will be on the Election Commission as well. So they are likely to meet various stakeholders. They are likely to submit their reports. They'll also be taking opinion from legal luminaries, is what we are given to understand in terms of how this can be really done. So all of these meetings are likely to take place before the committee actually submits its reports.
Right, Payal. Thank you for bringing us all those details, but do remain with us as we also have Pallavi joining us on this particular breaking news that we are receiving. Pallavi, firstly, your further details on this particular committee that is to be set up, as we know that sources are also saying committee will be speaking to stakeholders. What all are we gathering on this particular input?
See, first we need to understand this is a constitutional amendment and it also requires the assent of the state legislatures, because not all of them finish their term at the same point. So many of them are, at least 15 states are such which do not have elections very close to Lok Sabha elections. So they may have a resistance. For example, the TMC has always registered a protest of one simultaneous polls taking place. For the state legislatures, the governments, all the political parties, even in the opposition spectrum, they will also be, kind of spoken to. That's what the committee is going to do. We are also told that there are 2 retired judges who are expected to be a part of the committee, because the legal ramifications, the legal call, that also has to be taken, because this is going to be a constitutional amendment, changes in the constitution, the procedure of representation of People's Act. So all of these factors will be kept in mind. It is going to be a long drawn out process. What I've also been told is that the government is not going to be in a hurry. The committee submits its recommendations. Recommendations are then studied upon by the Law Commission, then by the government, and then of course it goes to the Election Commission. So it may not be possible that it could come out immediately on the 5-day special session, but that's a debate or a discussion which could be triggered off on the floor of the House, because the government wants to take all the stakeholders on board. And what government sources are saying is we do not want to bulldoze our way through. If we remember, the Prime Minister himself had told us in one of our earlier interviews that he actually thinks that there's too much of time wasted. It's actually a drain and wastage of resources, because we are always constantly in an election mode, because the Model Code of Conduct steps in, and very often this emerges as a hindrance to development projects. And that's one reason why he felt One Nation, One Poll would be required in a country as vast as ours. Is that really possible given the different temperatures, terrain, logistical problems, security concerns? That's exactly what the committee is going to be looking at.
Pallavi, also one more thing, like you yourself pointed out, that it will be a massive consensus building exercise in itself. So, do we have any inputs as to how the particular committee looks forward to facing this particular challenge?
I think we really need to wait for the notification to come out. But the choice of the former President Ram Nath Kovind, who himself is considered to be a constitutional expert, is extremely significant. From where he comes in from. That I think is very important factor. Just recently, I remember the Prime Minister had met up with him. Possibility this was also something which was thought about. As I mentioned, what I have just been told is that 2 retired judges are expected to be a part, legal luminaries essentially, are to be a part of the committee. I think they're going to try and get people from different spectrum to ensure that there is a kind of a clarity, there's a kind of no legal loopholes. It's not going to be an easy call to take for a country as vast as India. But there is a strong case which the government has always, and the Prime Minister himself has been placing, and that is that we cannot constantly be in an election mode. There cannot always be a model mode of conduct. We need to ensure that development carries on. As we know the procedure, the moment the elections are announced, and say for example in the upcoming state elections, there's going to be a model code of conduct. Then whether the government can carry out with its development projects, there's a hold on that. That is something which the Prime Minister has always been against.
Right, Pallavi. Pallavi, do stay with us as I bring in Payal also back into this conversation. Well, before that, there is some information we have also accessed wherein the Prime Minister had met the party presidents and he had spoken about forming this committee. That is the piece of information we are receiving. Now, Payal, coming back to you, what more are we gathering on the fact that the Prime Minister has also already met the party presidents and spoken about forming a committee? What more are we gathering about that particular input?
Well, when the Prime Minister had met these political parties during one of the discussions that took place on the one country, one election, even then he had spoken about the fact that there is a need to form a committee like that. But we do have a confirmation right now from the government that yes, a committee has been formed and that committee will be announced in some time from now. That notification will be out in some time from now, but this committee has been formed, so which clearly
Payal, do remain with us, but right now we also have A. Saravanan joining us from the DMK. Mr. Saravanan, firstly,
yes,
your reaction to the very fact that this committee is being formed and former President Ram Nath Kovind will be heading this committee. Your party's reaction to that?
this is a ridiculous move by the BJP. This is because of the India alliance. They are scared. The BJP, the Prime Minister and the Home Minister, they are running scared. They will not be able to seek votes on the basis of their achievements, and their polarization is also not working because there is unanimity among the opposition parties. So he wants to divert the attention. This is just headline management, and they want to divert the attention of you and me from discussing the Adani scam and from the strength of the India alliance. That is the reason. See, in a multi-party democracy, in a federal country like our India, how can you have one nation, one election? How
Right.
ridiculous can it be? If a state government, after one nation, one election, if a state government loses majority and the state government falls, are we going to have the election for the entire country, for all the 26 states? In 1957, yes. That is because we were just born. The democracy was just born. Therefore, all the states, everybody were having elections, and at that time there was only one party. Now that is not the situation. We are a multi-party democracy. So you cannot put this. You cannot ensure, or you cannot shove this down the throats of the Indians. It cannot happen. It will have a disastrous consequence. If they are trying to implement this, then the BJP will be washed out of the 2024 elections. The wrath of the Indians will ensure that the BJP is routed in the 2024 polls.
Right. Right, Mr. Saravanan. Mr. Saravanan, do stay with us, but we also have Manikam Tagore joining us from the Congress party. Mr. Tagore, do tell us about your party's reaction on this particular committee that is being formed. What we are learning is that it will be panning out for a long time, wherein all stakeholders shall be consulted before they go ahead with this. So, what is your party's reaction to this?
It is another jumla, another diversionary tactics from the Modi government on the issue of Adani scam and the India meet in Mumbai. They want the headlines to be diverted, and they are yesterday also they did it with the same source-based story. Today they had come up with a official committee announcement of with the former President Ram Nath Kovind ji. Therefore, we know the thing that this is not possible. It will take a lot of time because 3 articles have to be amended, and the election commission needs to be given that time also, because EVMs are not made on magic. It has to take a lot of time for